Little John fans and brilliant.
But we wouldn't have been a band. We wouldn't have been the band we were without Crass.
Yeah.
Because we saw Crass on stage as this powerful political unit. First time I saw him, I had a flying jacket my mum had got me from catalogue. I chucked it away and became a vegetarian that night. I got back from hitching from a gig, and my mum said, "Oh, I've made you some stew," and I was like, "Well, I'm a vegetarian." I said, "Oh, I'll just pick the meat out." But they had a really big influence on us. We could be a unit. That's what they did for us. Without Crass, we wouldn't have been the band we were.
I mean, there was an awful lot of theatrics that was involved, and that seemed to be involved from day one. Was that at one stage like a concerted effort to do something dramatically different, or did you kind of want the idea of having a theatre group as well, but you can't really do that in a squad in Barnsley? So yeah, you've kind of pieced together a band with the theatrics to go hand in hand with it. So it was almost, I mean, I saw Chumbawamba. The only time I saw Chumbawamba was in a squatted hall in North London somewhere with the X. And I mean, cheap quality PA, everything else, everything about it was completely low rent DIY. The X were phenomenal, but they were just, out and out screaming and shouting. But you had this entire theatrics thing that looked like it was probably meant for a stage like this, or a massive stage in, in the Winter Garden elsewhere. It looked like it was something way, way, way bigger than it actually was.
I don't think it was as thought out as that, to be honest. I think I felt as though we that the music was quite low quality and we wanted to distract people's attention.
I think also, like you say, the Crass influence, the first time I ever went to a Crass gig, your first impression is it's unlike any other stage you've seen in a small working men's club. And we kind of took that idea of, okay, what else can you do on a stage as well as playing music?
Right.
Also, we saw, when we first started, I think we tried to be like a northern version of Crass. And we were really shouty and really angry in the way that we presented ourselves as a band. But, I mean, Bob said this, I think Bob says it in his book actually, that, then we realised, look, we have a laugh all the time. We're having a laugh all the time, and then suddenly we get on stage and we're really serious. And we feel as though we have to be really serious to present these ideas. And then we had like a sort of a light bulb moment where we thought, we don't have to do that. We don't have to be like that. We can have fun with it. And so the theatrical stuff sort of developed largely because Alice and Danbert were prepared to do pretty much fucking anything. And that's not that. I totally, absolutely admire and respect them for that because they were fucking brilliant.
When you can do nothing, you do everything.
I mean, one of the other things that I've always found fascinating is, and I was reminded about it just a couple of days ago, that you started, for want of a better word, and forgive me if this is not what you actually regard as, you started scams much, much earlier. Like you'd only released the first single and you were pretending to be an oi band to take the piss out of Gary Bushell. And that's pretty advanced. I mean, that's usually the kind of thing you'll do secretly under the radar later. But you seem to do it without wanting to attract attention to yourselves, to say, look what we've done, aren't we fantastic? We've taken the piss out of Gary Bushell. What's the motivation behind that? Is that just, oh, we can do this, so fuck it, we will?
Yeah, I think we always thought, let's not just be a band, let's see what we can do with this bunch of people who all have interesting ideas and what can we do together, especially what can we do together that's fun to do as well as being, part of the kind of political activist, whatever. And I remember at some point thinking, we were at Leeds train station handing out pamphlets for something, I can't remember, some animal rights thing or something. And I remember thinking, I've been studying for 3 hours doing this. This is not the best use of my time. And I think it's a brilliant thing to do, but why don't we do something that we know we can pull off that's fun and that kind of that maybe has an impact in a totally different way. So we were constantly thinking up things like that. You know,
Like the getting booked for the Conservative conference.
We did the middle.
The middle?
The middle.
the Lib
When-
Dem
When the Lib
party.
Dems surfaced, we made a song called, what were it called, Sitting on the Fence? What were it? Can't remember.
So someone out there knows it.
Yeah,
Use your vote.
no, that was,
No?
we did a song basically, or a couple of songs, and sent them to Lib Dems, and it was about how it's better to sit on the fence because you can see both sides, and asked if we could play at the conference. And it was partly just because we thought it'll be really funny if they say yeah.
Just so then you can actually tell people, but
No,
not.
we weren't going to tell people, we were just going to do it.
That's one of the things that's absolutely genuinely fascinating, because I mean we hear there's an awful lot of stories that hear about some of the pranks and things like that you've actually done, but they're never from any of you. You know, this information has just appeared out of somewhere, but there's probably hundreds of others. I remember Dunstan once saying if you ever wanted something ridiculous done, you just asked Danbert would he think of doing it, and he
I
did
never
it.
said that. It's true.
He said he'd still do it.
That was how the press. I'm probably jumping ahead a bit, but that's sort of how the Prescott thing happened, wasn't it? Really.
Sorry, I'm just turning my phone off because it keeps dinging in my hearing aids.
you were checking your social media.
It's live streaming, isn't it?
So, I don't know why I was just easy to convince to do the dare.
Look, Dunstan said you didn't need to be convinced.
Oh.
You hadn't even finished the sentence and you're halfway off doing it. I mean, we can't not talk about the Prescott. We can't. I mean, we know. I've heard you tell the story. It's absolutely fucking brilliant. But can you tell us that one?
Well, we had all those years of training of doing pranks, and suddenly we're in that bubble of the mainstream pop culture, and in a room bigger than this, but you realise that John Prescott is like 2/3 of the way back, and it's like, what can we do? And it was semi-spontaneous. Oh, there's these huge buckets full of ice water.
But Dan, it was because we were a bit pissed off because we didn't get a chance to let the Dockers come on stage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
say-
well, we
because they were all
invited.
there,
Yeah.
and they were going to give a speech against New Labour and what was happening in Liverpool, and they didn't get a chance because we didn't win what we were hoping to win, and so we were pissed off. That was the background, and so because John Prescott was there, we just realised it was really easy to do something.
You got it.
Sorry, that was the background.
Yeah, and plus,
Yeah. So from conception to execution, it was a matter of minutes.
we were drunk. That was the other thing.
It's like
There were
a.
all loads of-
That was my next
Yeah.
question.
And the other thing is, because when we first started, we toured with how do you say it? Cuckle that Bjork were in.
Oh, yeah.
And because Dan were going to get Prescott from the front, and me and Paul were going to tip another ice bucket over his head from behind, which is what happened, which is why we're so wet. And I saw Bjork and I went, we're going to shower John Prescott. She was talking to Alexander McQueen, and I went, do you want to help? And they both went.
Paul's here somewhere, isn't he?
Is he?
Where is he?
Where
is
are
he?
you, Paul?
Is he handing out leaflets at the door?
Yeah, come on, Paul.
Come on, Paul. You don't want to.
Yeah.
Do you not want to? You're
He
right
only
where you are.
decided to come at the
Can I
last
come and
minute,
sit with you?
so-
Paul Greco could get you into any gig you wanted to get into. He was the most brilliant blagger I've ever known.
He had a thing next to his phone, didn't he? Can you remember? In their house, he had like a list, and it was like, step 1, try this person. If that don't work, go to that one. If that don't work, go to that one. Then ring them, then try them. And it just went on.
It's one of them where he went, yes, no, yes, no, no.
So, I mean, the first few records that you did were on your own label, and then you switched over to One Little Indian, as it was at the time. Now, I saw a quote from someone in One Little Indian who said that Chumbawamba seemed to want to have the money behind them, use our money for things, but wanted under no circumstances to play any of the games or any of the things that we wanted to do.
That was Kenny Addison who worked for One
Was
Little
it?
Indian. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was saying it as if that's a bad thing.
He said it tongue in cheek, really. I think it's in the Well Done Now Sort Of film where he says it, and he's sort of been tongue in cheek about it.
We've got a photo of me strangling him, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got a photo of Harry strangling him because we fell out with One Little Indian in the end. One Little Indian turned down.
Did you actually join One Little Indian because they had major distribution and suddenly you can make this leap using someone else's money? Because there's only so far you can get when you're doing it literally yourself unless you've got massive resources.
One of the things that pissed off One Little Indian was that we did what was the first album we did them with them? Was it Anarchy or something?
Yeah.
And they were really excited. They thought, oh, there's a couple of tracks here that are singles. What are you going to do next? And I think we did like Portraits of Anarchists next or something weird. And they were just like, look, we can't sell this. This hasn't got a hit single on. And then
Sorry, we went with them, with One Little Indian, because we thought they'd be better than we were at doing it ourselves because they had everything in place and
they had big bands on there.
yeah, and we thought, oh, that we're going to sell more records.
Derek was an old friend from Flux.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they made loads of mistakes, just like we had done. And like when we did Anarchy, we did a tour. They hadn't even got the album ready. Yeah, there were all sorts of cock-ups.
That's why I strangled him.
So we've had a lot of different
But
record labels.
when we did the Tough Thumper album, we took it. We were still on One Little Indian at the time, and we took them the album, and they were like, nah, and they were like, you're gonna have to get Langer and Winstanley in to produce this or something. It was something like that. I'll go away and re-record it or something.
And they said, go away and write some stronger songs. So
For fuck's sake. I mean, fuck's sake.
Anyway.
I'd say that was one of the things that we got from bands like The Fall, which was even separate from the kind of DIY Buzzcocks thing, was this idea that you don't let the record company, you can be absolute mates with people and friends with people, but you don't let them tell you what they want for the market. And so we would never ever send demos of things that we were doing to a record company or anything beforehand, or artwork or lyrics or anything.
So you just arrive in and say, here's the album, here's the artwork, here's the lyrics, this is the marketing strategy we're looking to hold, stick your money in and do it. And they got it spectacular.
And the only time that we broke that rule the first time was to send a rough tape of Tub Thumping. It was the first 4 tracks, including the song Tub Thumping. And that's when Derek wrote back and said, nah, you need to write some stronger songs. And so we thought, well, we'll never do that again then.
Oh, we thought, fuck off.
I mean, let's face it, I mean, there's a lot of, there's so much noise that's around that album, and none of it addresses the basic thing that it's a fucking great record. I mean, there isn't a weak moment on that record. Sure, when you finished that, surely you actually had to listen to it back and went, you know what, this is fucking brilliant. Everybody needs to hear this, which is why, obviously, you needed the backing of someone absolutely major to actually make those dreams a reality.
To be honest, it wasn't really like that, because every album that we did, we thought it was brilliant at the time, or else we wanted to put it out. And that album was just exactly as the album that came out, that we would have put out ourselves, or One Little Indian would have put out, but they didn't want it. But EMI at the time, they just didn't want any changes, and they just wanted us to do whatever we wanted.
Wow.
And so that's why we did that at the time. We didn't think, oh, we could just do something massive.
No, we did. There were a sense, I think, around that album, because One Little Indian had said, we don't like what you're doing. Go away and get a producer to do something else with it. There were a sense between us in that, okay, we need to close ranks as a gang. And there was an absolute, while we were making that album, it was like, we are a gang, we're going to do this together and we don't give a fucking shit what you think. And there were a real sense of, well, we're just going to do what we want. And there were no, this is for the mass market, this is going to be huge. It was just us as a group of people thinking, we've been doing this, how long have we been doing it at that point? 15 years? And we've still got something different to do and we're going to do it our way.
So did
we all-
you
sorry.
approach EMI, or did someone from EMI hear it and go, fuck me, this is brilliant?
It was EMI Germany though, wasn't it?
So they just latched onto it, and you're sitting back going, you can't believe all the luck. So you're making ridiculous demands on them, and they say, yeah, whatever. Like,
We had a really long meeting. We had hours and hours and hours of meeting where we discussed, should we do it, should we not? We knew we'd get loads of flack from the anarcho scene, and we could understand it. But at the same time, we were going to get 100 grand. We thought this will keep us for at least 5 years being a band. We could do 5 albums, whatever happens, or, you know, and because we'd been together for so long, the contract we signed, we had all the rights. We were so, we gave nothing away. They couldn't tell us what to do. There were no...
how far into that arrangement did EMI regret it? Was it when you went on television and suggested that if you can't afford to buy it, let's steal it out of...
To be honest, the hassle wasn't from EMI, it was from Universal, because a lot of that stuff happened in America, and we were signed to Universal in America.
Right.
And they were freaked out by the stuff that we did over there.
No, EMI England didn't get really pissed off with us until, I don't know if it were the water or something one of us had said.
It was the water, because they asked us to apologise.
Yeah, and we wouldn't apologise.
Yeah.
And so they got all our records together, drove them across London. Where did they dump them? Yeah, they dumped them in somebody's
Also,
office.
we did a free single that was a slag off of Tony Blair, and just gave them all out.
It was Tony Blair.
Yeah.
It was Tony
Yeah.
Blair.
And the head of VMI, can't remember his name now. Whatever his name was, it was one of those names that you could just switch around a little bit to make it really, really abusive, but I can't remember what it was. But yeah, he sent a memo out to all the people who worked in the office saying, I know you've been given, you know, boxes of these singles to package and give away to people, but do not give any away. Bring them all to me.
You know, I've got that piece of paper still.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What was his name?
I can't remember what his name was, but I've got that piece of paper where he says, thank you very much for sending this. I think I'll be sending mine straight back.
I'm a friend of Tony.
Yeah, it did. He said, I'm a friend of
I'm
Tony
a friend
Blair.
of Tony's.
And the other thing is, the number of times people have said to us, you're never going to work in this industry again.
Yeah.
Honestly.
You've never heard that one before?
No, it used to happen on a regular basis. People would say, if you don't apologise for this one, you're never going to work in this industry again.
There's a couple of really good examples of that. Is when, before Tub Thumping, we were playing with Smashing Pumpkins in Germany, and we'd been on, it was like being broadcast live on German TV, but our bit was pre-recorded. We played in the afternoon quite early, but Smashing Pumpkins were headlining. So we played, and then so we just like were drinking afterwards, and then we had this whole thing where Smashing Pumpkins had a drum kit that was about the size of this stage or something.
52 piece.
And then when they walked onto stage, their people came and told everybody to get into the dressing room, so you couldn't watch them walk on stage. So we were absolutely appalled. So that were an incident where we went, Dambert, what are you going to do?
And what did he do?
And I'll let Dambert take over.
Well, as he said, we'd been drinking, and we wrote something on my chest, and
It said punk.
yeah, Dambert, just go on stage naked. And I had broken my leg about 5 weeks previously, so I couldn't run. And I walk on stage naked, and the guitar player's like, you know, and the security guys are asleep. So I couldn't run away. They finally wake up and like get this character off stage, and they drag me backstage. The head of the German TV company, you will never work on German television ever again. And a year later, we were all over German TV. That was a tough one. and they escorted me out of the building, and I'm like trying to find the tour bus, and I have to climb
You're still
over a
naked,
fence.
aren't you?
Still naked. So yeah. But it's that, you know, the rock and roll world has certain rules, and you're not meant to break them, and we broke too many too fast. You know, after Chuck Thumper, and that's why we didn't last in that world. People stop inviting you back.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that the album that came out after that was absolutely stellar. I thought it was a killer record. But I got the impression that Universal were like, fuck.
All them labels, they all go, oh, we're in it for the long haul, you know, doesn't matter if this one's not.
Until you go on television and say, steal it out of a local record.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's not just the big record labels, it was the smaller ones as well. One Little Indian and Southern, who were both brilliant with tours for a while, both kind of turned sour as soon as we did something that they didn't really like, they just very quickly changed their opinion on us, because when they thought that we wouldn't just go along with how they wanted us to do things.
Do you think any of them regretted? Or do you think that One Little Indian regretted not doing Tuck Thumping? They could have made more money than Bjork, or then again maybe they couldn't, because maybe they wouldn't
they
be
made
able
a
to flog
fortune
it.
from Bjork.
Yeah.
He fucked up with Alabama 3 as well, actually.
Oh, that should be huge.
Yeah, he fucked that up as well, but he didn't seem to care.
But I honestly think that what record companies never realised about us is that because we were such a gang, and we're still friends now, you know, we're proper friends, that they couldn't tell us what we're to do, because we, honestly, you've never known people spending as long in meetings as us, because we had a policy of we couldn't do anything until we all agreed. So if one person didn't agree, we wouldn't just do it anyway. We'd talk until we got somewhere. We were really democratic. Christ almighty, it's difficult and boring. But we were really strong, because when we did sometimes we did things on spur at moment, but we always backed each other up, even if we made a mistake, because we cared about each other, and we had a real strong sense of ourselves as a gang of people. There were us and there were them.
So I mean, a big record company executive is looking, and they're used to the fact they want to get something done, they look for the weak point.
Yeah, there were no weak points.
And they obviously couldn't believe that in a band of this many people that there wasn't a weak point.
Yeah.
So I love that story. I mean, as I said, I was a massive fan at the time, and I would have probably been a typical person who would have thought that when he signed to EMI, would have been marching up and down and burning my records. I was actually the opposite, because I thought, well, first of all, it's sorting the men out from the boys. Who, you know, the people who turned their back on Chumbawamba at this point missed the point in the first place. So anyone who carried on that journey was on the winning team, as far as I was concerned. I thought it was absolutely fucking incredible.
Also, you know, in the beginning, we made demo tapes and we distributed them. And then when we made our first record, some people were pissed off with us for making a record. You know, so it's like all the way along, you know. And then we went disco. You know, people didn't like that. Fucking disco. Yeah. Fucking disco.
When we made the first record, the first 7-inch, that Revolution, somebody sent us a dead sparrow in the post.
Have you still got that?
Am I right in saying, Dunstan, you went on Pictures of Starving Children?
Pardon?
You went on the first album?
No, I was living in Nottingham at the time.
Love.
Well, it was a bit more serious than that, but I won't go into the details of it.
Oh, come on.
No, because it's not fair on Melanie.
So you went on
Did
that?
I actually
It wasn't a
take
trivial
over?
thing. It
No,
wasn't
it
a
wasn't
trivial thing.
trivial. I wasn't mocking you.
That's where I got asked to step in on bass. Actually, it's just dawning on me now. Yeah,
One man's
you kind of played
misfortune.
bass until then, mainly, I think.
So I was on the first couple of singles, and then I disappeared for a while, and then
And you're back for Nevermind the Ballads?
barged my way back in a few years later.
But we wanted you back, do you know what I mean? Because when I say love,
Back
you
for
love,
good.
yeah, you love somebody, something happened to them, you went to be with them. When that doesn't work, you can come back.
Yeah.
I think one of
The kind of move into the calling it dance music is denigrates dance music, kind of denigrates you, but throwing in the keyboards and the sequencers and bringing it up a level in kind of pop value, pop performance value, was that again a thing to like move with the times? I mean, now in the zeitgeist, when you look back, it seems like this is a different kind of progression, but when a lot of the punk rock bands were turning into metal bands because the punk scene was stone dead, you went in a different direction. And I think you just kind of gradually have morphed from one sort of scene to another but still keeping the same identity, which still is pretty clever. It's pretty clever to actually do it.
I think you're kind of influenced by lots of different things, and at the time, we had a social life, and we used to enjoy dancing. You know, we went to the hacienda and stuff like that. You know, we were enjoying dance music, and so it seemed natural in a way.
So these things just absorb into the psyche.
And early dance music, where it was punk. People were doing stuff where it sounded different, but that thing of doing it yourself, putting it out there, doing a white label, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It had a lot of that punk, the punk values to it.
Do you think
I
it,
seem to remember though that some people,
Sorry.
you got into technology, and that really affected us. Got into fucking hell, how do you do? I remember you learning it, teaching yourself.
Yeah, well, we got into samplers, didn't we? Yeah. But I mean, there were a sampler on pictures, weren't there? We were on about it the other day.
yeah.
What whitewash? Whitewash. It was like a box that were as big as this room, with like a button on it. It could only have 3 seconds.
3
So we got Dammer going, whitewash.
brilliant.
And that was the start of it, wasn't it,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
You invented samples?
Actually, the first time we saw evidence of digital technology was when we were doing just after we'd done stuff with Flux Pink Indians. They were going to put our first album out, and we had an idea what the first album was going to be, and we had all the songs and everything, and then they just kept not putting it out, and we'd get in touch and say, can we do that thing? We're going to record an album on Spiderleg, and we were really into that, and it went on for a year. And in that year, we changed a lot. And then by the time it came to they're obviously not going to say, yeah, we'll put the album out. So we said, well, just put it out ourselves. We'll make our own record label, do it ourselves. Oh, and Live Aid is about to happen. Let's change the entire album. So it's all about Live Aid, charity, starvation. And we'll try and rewrite the entire thing in 2 or 3 weeks. And that was like the start of us thinking, whenever we think about what we're going to do next, how different is it? What's going to make it different? What's going to make it challenging? What is it that's... So like we do the first 2 albums and then we think, oh, let's put out an album of a cappella English rebel songs. And then we think, well, that's going to lose our entire audience. But we think, yeah, but we'll enjoy doing it because we love singing harmonies and that'll be really interesting. Let's see what happens. And we had that attitude all the way through. Right before we had the first single out, I remember us having meetings where we decided we wouldn't have a logo because we don't want to have a thing where people can put it on the back of the leather jackets and then it stays there for the next 15 years. And it wasn't because we didn't like other bands that did that. We were just bloody minded and thought we want to be weird and we want to keep changing and keep challenging ourselves. And we wanted to be at the point where people thought, well, like Dunn said, when we went to America, first time we went to America, we were getting into dance music and dance technology. When people went, oh, they've fucking gone disco. We loved it. We just thought, brilliant. It's challenging those punk preconceptions. Maximum Rock and Roll wouldn't review English Rebel songs, the a cappella song, because they said it wasn't punk. In the same issues, they wouldn't review it. They reviewed an album by some like Argentinian or Brazilian Nazi band, and that because that was punk. And I remember us thinking, right, we need to really carry on with this kind of bloody-minded version of what we think punk is. which is it's as much the Slits and the Raincoats and the Fall as it is the bands we love, like Conflicts and, you know, Discharge and Crass. That we kept that through with the whole thing. We were like, what can we do next that's gonna be weird and that's gonna challenge us and challenge our audience as well.
Well, I mean, the politics of the band was quite dramatically different to the way that other bands' politics was. It seemed as if you actually thought about it a little more, and it wasn't, it's an anti-war song, it's an meat eating song, it's an anti-government song. There was a lot of subjects that were very, very different. Way more educational, I think. You know, I mean, we had all that stuff by listening. You could get all you need to know about war from all 3 lines of a Discharge song. That's fine. Move on. But so I mean, things like
when we did Slab, we sort of decided that we wanted to do an album of positive messages in the songs, in the lyrical content. And so we all went off and researched different found stories. But we used to do that a lot. I mean, I remember you doing like loads of research on the English Rebel songs as well. So when we came up with the idea with Slab, we just went out and did loads of research to find the stories, to write a song about that had a sort of a more positive message than just complaining about everything. We thought that was really important.
I think because we started, in a way, we never called ourselves this, but I think we started as a collective. So we had a printing press and, you know, various things that we did that weren't a band in the cellar. We were part of lots of political things that were going on. And so if, you know, we'd be printing pamphlets about, you know, for other people, things like Who Owns Leeds, Dirty Fingers in Dirty Pies, we did, didn't we, which was a rich list of Leeds. I think Dan came up with that. Boff was always like, okay, how can we push this further? We had different sets of skills, but we thought it were normal to be a group of people who'd print a political pamphlet for somebody or write a political pamphlet, and we'd never separated it from the band. It's not like we were a band first. We did all this stuff as a collective, and I think that influenced the way we did everything as a band. And for me, it was the sort of the best thing that could have happened in my life, to meet this group of people and to learn a different way of being.
I mean, there is like, I mean, you could get 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 people, dump them in a room, but you wouldn't get the same chemistry from a songwriting point of view. It's pure luck that there's a certain sense of, I mean, some of the songs, the sense of melody on some of the songs, I think some of them are like world beaters. Every single album has got something in there which, you know, could be done by anybody from Dolly Parton upwards, you know. But it's a rare talent to actually find that you can craft songs. I mean, you were only teenagers when you started, but some of the songs that were crafted on the first album, even the demo tape that Boff politely refers to as being rubbish, all of that music is really,
people
really
in
well
Chumbawamba don't
crafted.
call themselves musicians, but I think, and I'm not including myself in this, that some people in Chumbawamba are proper musicians, but it's not that, but they've worked at it. They're all grafters. You know,
Yeah.
to be good at something, you graft.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a passion for what you're trying to do, and then you go, how can I make it better? And Harry turned out to be the best drummer, so Harry would carry on practicing, learning and learning. But
And you know, lose voice. You know, we were lucky we had lose voice. We had Boff doing harmonies. We had, you know, Dunst as a front man. We had Dan being insane. You know, Maeve could play more or less anything. You know what I mean? We were really lucky.
yeah, but also, I mean, there is that sense. I mean, the melodies that's there. Was one of you a master at
All right, admit it. Oh, it's Pete. We talked about this beforehand. We weren't going to talk about it.
Well, so someone must have been the best at it, or is it literally that? You know,
People were best at it. You were really brilliant at melodies, Boff. You just were.
Yeah, Boff would often write words and come up with melodies, and he's
Right.
really good at that.
I suppose with so many of you there's so many ideas flowing in that it's very easy then to cherry pick all the ones that are actual winners. This idea of having like vignette songs, I mean, loads of tiny little bits of songs on each of the albums, and each one of those tiny little bits of songs is a piece on its own. Were they pieces that you kind of had and went, well, we're not going to be able to make a full, decent quality song out of that, so we'll just take that piece and use that on its own?
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that idea of kind of having an album where you treat it as a collage and you link the tracks together and everything came from listening to early Frank Zappa albums.
Right.
We're only in it for the money and absolutely free, where they did that, and it kind of makes it into more of a kind of it's like a piece of theatre, and it just felt really interesting to us rather than going track, silence, track, silence. So when we did the first single, it does that. It's like a little play. It all connects and everything.
And in a way, when you're creating that, like again, harping on about the first single, when you're doing that at the time, in your heads, you're all saying we've got a few little vignettes, we'll stick them all together into a song. But to the punter who's listening to it, they don't know that. So me as a kid was listening to that, going, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
How does any band manage to write a song that goes like this and it's changed? It was just so revolutionary music-wise. It was incredibly punk rock.
But I mean, Crass did it as well, and I think.
But not with something that you want to sing along with. When Crass did it with Yes Sir I Will, where it's just loads and loads of things just banging together.
I think you're right. I think we were probably playing to an audience that didn't know the second side of Abbey Road. But of course now everybody's heard the second side of Abbey Road, I presume. But it is that thing of where the Beatles were in the studio and they had all these bits, and McCartney said, let's stick them together, and John Lennon thought it was a shit idea. Went home, because he was probably doing heroin at the time, and McCartney did it behind his back, and then came in the next day and went, oh yeah, that works, that's good.
Which is exactly what happened to us.
There's that thing that the Beatles did on Sgt. Pepper's, where they had recorded some fairground music, and then they cut it into 18-inch long or something like that strips.
And those were the stories that inspired us. If we read about that sort of thing, we'd think, hey, the Beatles did a thing where they had a dog whistle on, but it was above the pitch was so high that a human ear can't hear it, but the dogs go crazy when you play that. And those lovely little ideas, we in the studio trying to think of weird shit that we could do.
When we went to get cut the first single, that Revolution single, it was. Do people remember Porky Prime Cuts? Yeah. It was him who was mastering it, was he, or something, cutting it? And I remember he was told, it just blew his mind. He just thought it was like, how can you go from that quiet to that loud? Yeah. That's gonna freak people out.
We were just like, that inspires you, and you go, bring it down lower then. Give that more of a punch. It was quite disconcerting, actually.
Yeah. And of course, when you play it on the radio, it equalises everything, so it's just all on.
Well, because it was played on the Kid Jensen show.
Yeah.
Who was going to play it on the radio?
Well, I have to say, one of the things, I always think this, I think that one of the things that there was a massive leg up, a big change for Chumbawamba was the fact that John Peel liked the first single. And because we never expected him to, because we knew that he played a little bit of kind of, proper, anarcho-punk, but not much, because most of it had swearing in it. And so when we released that first single, we were absolutely gobsmacked that he latched onto the song, and he played it repeatedly, and it was in his top 10 of songs of the year, and that was fantastic for us, because we'd all learned about music from John Peel. We all kind of and that eclecticism, that vast things of the array of what he would play was really influential to us. If someone said, oh, let's try a little bit of some kind of offbeat reggae type thing here, we wouldn't all be going, what are you on about? We all knew about all that stuff because we'd all grown up listening to John Peel.
Yeah. So
not Kid Jensen.
When you became globally famous, what was the song that General Motors wanted to use in an advert?
Pass It Along. There's a song called Pass It Along.
Right. and they offered a lot of money and you gave it to striking workers.
No, we gave it to, it was in South Africa, that one. I mean, we had this policy where if big companies offered us a lot of money, then, so for that money, we gave it to a Marxist collective in South Africa that were basically doing political stuff over there. But we'd get in touch with people, or did we do that to Corporate Watch? That might
No,
be
it was
Corporate Watch.
Court Watch.
Yeah, we did a South African car ad as well, but we'd get in touch with people and go, okay, we've been offered this advert, it's for this much money, we don't want to take it because it's shit, but if you want us to take it and give you the money, we'll do it.
Right.
And so we would then do that. We did an advert, that's where it would go. And so after Tub Thumping, a lot of that came in.
Right.
And we would only do it if we were working in partnership with somebody who wanted the money.
Right, okay.
Because you'd never catch us advertising butter, to be honest.
Tub Thumping was like, it didn't exist at the time, but it was clickbait. I mean, you got loads of kids who had no idea what they were going to get exposed to. You know, about 4 or 5 million kids buying that in America, and then I don't know how many of them bought the album, but all of a sudden they're being presented with these ideas that they'd never heard of. And I mean, who knows how many of those actually went on to actually be better people. I mean, that's what I've talked about the past few years, this ripple effect, this butterfly effect that anarcho-punk and political punk and things like that do, because all you've got to do is to theoretically change one person's life, and you change my life, and I react in a different way to other people around me, and possibly they have a different respect on the world. And I mean, you do that.
Bob's just written a book about this.
It's that thing where when we first started, like we played a gig at the Railway Arms, or the Railway Hotel in Leeds, which is near the railway station. Don't look for it, it's not there. Were there 2 people there? 3? 4.
I think there was
Sorry, I was
6, but
underestimating.
4 of them were the support band.
Yeah. So 2 genuine punters. And the big thing is when you do that, we once did a gig with Blythe Power where basically we watched them and they watched us. And the big thing with that is just if you're an artist, then the point of being an artist is just get it out of your bedroom. Just make it, just go and communicate it, go and have a dialogue. Doesn't matter if it's 1 person or if it's 10,000. Just do it anyway and get it out there. And people will, if it works, people do what they want with it. As long as you don't shy away from putting it out there. Yeah.
If Chumbawamba were forming today, do you think you'd bother making any records, or would you have a bank of bits of music and then you do a reactionary thing on something which is happening in the news tomorrow and have it down there for a download immediately? Is that the kind of that's what I would like to think you'd do. And now I've given you the idea, I expect it to happen. But
What did happen after Tub Thumping happened? So we did do like about 2 or 3 little CD singles, didn't we, that we just gave away. There was the Enough Is Enough one and the Tony Blair one, and then there was the
Manchester
one as well. And so that was sort of doing it in that sort of pre-internet sort of way, I guess.
I mean, it's we were just talking about this backstage earlier. What is weird is that you get so many bands who split up and they don't really like each other, and they don't really talk to each other, and it becomes factions, things like that. Whereas, I mean, you kind of split almost in half for a few years and then split completely. But you all seem to still respect, like, and appreciate each other. I mean, that's a fairly major thing. But, so what was it that, first of all, made 3 or 4 of you quit the band in the first place? We just burnt out.
There's a really moribund reason for that. we were selling less and less records, and less people come to see us, and so we decided that we would spend a year doing a new album, promote it as much as possible, do everything that was asked of us, and if that made no difference whatsoever, then we would morph into an acoustic Chumbawamba, which had already started doing. Is that right? Do you think? Doing stuff on the side anyway, and that was sort of. And so we did a year of promoting. I can't remember which one it was. Was it On? Yeah. So we had this. So we had. Yeah. So we had a whole year of trying to promote it, and it made no, and it wasn't working. And we did that thing that there's a famous story about Duran Duran trying to save money, and so they thought, right, we're going to take loads of stuff off the rider. And they took orange juice off the rider or something. That's the only thing they took off. So it was a bit like that. We couldn't find a way of making it work financially, and the acoustic thing was gaining momentum.
Right.
So we just sort of we made this decision that me, Alice, Damba, and Harry would all leave at the end of the year. Is that right?
Yeah, a year later. Yeah, we did it for a year, didn't we? And then
Something like that. So yeah. So it was.
Just sort of, yeah,
It was really pragmatic. It was quite a pragmatic thing, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, realised that the acoustic thing had legs, sort of thing. So.
and it cost less money to do the acoustic thing. But it wasn't just that. I mean, I think, you know, for me it suited me because I thought, now I want to do something else, and it's very hard to leave a gang of friends. And in a way, I just thought, okay, now I get to try this other thing I want to do. So, you know, it's not like we split up and we're just like, oh, what a set of bastards carrying on. Because that's not how it were, you know. Lou was still my best friend in the band then, and my best friend when she was doing the acoustic. It's just...
Yeah, okay. And the acoustic thing went on for a little while, and then just at that point got totally burnt out and...
To be honest, one of the things with the acoustic thing is we were approaching the fact that it started dawning on us that we were going to have been together for 30 years, and we just thought, shit, 30 years. So when it got to, this is right, isn't it, Lou? So it got to about 29 years, and we said, why don't we just have a year where we just do the gigs we really want to do in places we really like going to, and really enjoy it, and then we'll finish with a big show that everybody's part of. And just call it a day and say, and it was just kind of a really lovely thing to think, yeah, we can do that.
Nice way to close it off.
Yeah.
And we all got back together for that.
Right. And I mean, we're running out of time, which is really, really sad. But
I'm noticing how you're kind of getting lower and lower in your chair.
I know.
It's a bit unnerving, to be honest, from here.
What would you like the legacy of Chumbawamba to be held as? The sound of fucking silence is what
Just
it is.
that.
In a way, it's for everybody that's here in this room to decide what the legacy of Chumbawamba was, because we did so many different
I
things.
didn't say, what do you think the legacy? In an ideal world, what would you like everybody to regard Chumbawamba as?
Do you know what? I met Lou today, and the thing she was telling me about all the people that have come up to you yesterday and saying, oh, we met blah, blah, blah years ago. And your band were really, really nice when we worked here, and were very helpful in so many ways. And for me, when you were telling me that, I come away thinking, yeah, we did that right. You know, a lot of people probably didn't like us because we signed to EMI and we did a lot of things that didn't suit what they thought their politics were. But as a group of people, I think we tried really hard to affect change and not be wankers and make things.
Yeah.
And the fact that people come up to everybody here on a regular basis and say, you meant something to me, and we had some sort of meaningful, you know, it sounds corny for me to say but that for me, that's the legacy that we left. We left a good impression for the people that we worked and played to.
Just don't take you by surprise. Are you surprised that how many people love the individuals, love what you do, love the records? Are you surprised that people still see that?
Yeah, definitely. Because I did a book tour in North America, and people were bringing the 2 or 3 generations of people were coming, and I just thought this. Obviously, you've got to. I mean, it's like with Charlie Harper. I love the fact that he was the first punk band that quite a few of us saw live, and the reason I saw them, they were the first punk band I saw live, was because they were the first band that kind of dared to come up and play in East Lancashire when nobody else was.
Yeah.
That's life changing when somebody does that, and then to know that they're still around.
Yeah.
Several decades later, and they're still, Charlie's still a lovely bloke, and you just think that's great. If people think that about us, that we stuck around and we were all right people, that's good.
We wouldn't want to be Mick Jagger if that meant being a wanker. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, really, really sorry, we have actually run out of time. I mean, I don't know, can we bump the band and who's on next? But bump the next one, fuck them, this is more fun. Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there, and I can't tell you how much a pleasure it's been.
Thank you.
Really nice, thank you.
Thank you.